Okay, this is intro to shadow work. I have walked through my own darkness, and just a disclosure, the shadow work aspects of etheric touch can trigger mental health issues. This part of the course is not meant to take place of mental health treatment. If triggered, you should seek help of a mental health counselor who can assist you to navigate this space while also managing your mental health. This course is not meant to act as an alternative to treatment for mental illness. We do have a few people within the Etheric Touch tribe that will be able to provide resources for mental health counselors in your area if for some reason you feel that you need one. Okay. I wanted to make sure that you all feel supported in this process. As usual, you know that it's very important to us that everybody is in a safe place, that everyone is healthy, that everyone is making their way through these aspects of our healing in a way that is safe for you and that is helping you to grow and learn, with also understanding that this does not take the place of psychological mental health counseling. If you do need the resources, Kenwana is our astrologist, psychologist, and I believe Journey also has mental health therapy, counseling information as well. So again, if you need resources, please reach out. You can reach out to me. I can definitely help to put you in the right direction, but please make sure you're reaching out if that seems to come up as we move through the course. Okay.
Right. You know, shadow work is real. Like healing is real. And like, like things have been passed down to us, like, or things are in us that we need to confront, like things that have plagued our lives or affected our lives in many different ways, and understanding these things are energies, like they spirits for real. You know what I'm saying? And like this is about confronting those energies, confronting those spirits that's in us, and not just confronting them to like to bury them even more, but confronting them in order to get to know them. You know what I'm saying? And so like in that process, like it can be kind of scary. It can be kind of scary. Like most people are afraid of themselves. Like most people, they will try to solve every external problem that they have in life, but when it comes to that inner realm, like most people are afraid to deal with that. It's scary to them. But we have to get past that fear. You know what I mean? Because this is the only way that we're going to truly get to know who it is that we are and embrace the fullness that we truly are, and to know that there's no reason to fear ourselves. Like, so we have to confront these things, like these inner things that are buried inside of us. So like this is a very important part of the course.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what is shadow work? Shadow work is the practice of discovering and meeting your own shadow. It is the basis of the healing journey. Your shadow is the side of you that you keep hidden. Shadow work is a mindset shift and the deliberate work to uncover your shadow side and integrate it into your life. Shadows include things that we suppress consciously, choose not to deal with, and things we repress, unconsciously deny. Shadow work is a journey of self-exploration, self-acceptance, and self-awareness.
Right. Like we all have a shadow self. Like this is life, like the balance of life is no different than, light or dark. Like the light and the dark that we see in nature. Like we are nature. So we have a light aspect of who it is that we are, and then we also have a shadow aspect of who we are. But the issue is that the shadow part, people are either ashamed of it or they fear it, you know what I mean? That they don't want to address it, they want to ignore it. But this damages us, it harms us, like it keeps us from having the complete experience of what it means to be alive. Like everything is not love and light. Everything is not love and light. You know what I mean? And so once we accept that aspect of our own selves, like because we think that it's something imperfect about who it is that we are. Like it's aspects of ourselves that we come to dislike. Like we think is, are not a part of us. Like, how can this be a part of who I am? You know what I mean? But it is a part of who you are, you know? Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I wasn't interrupting. So a lot of times when people talk about shadows, we really think about it as our own personal monster, right? We think about it as the devil within ourselves. And a lot of people don't want to confront the devil within themselves. A lot of people don't want to deal with, get to know with. They want to deny, or yes, they want to deny that this aspect of themselves even exists. And so a lot of times that's what causes us to feel the shadow aspect of who we are. The shadow is what makes us feel broken, especially when we're not willing and able to acknowledge its existence within ourselves, as well as start to understand and heal those aspects of ourselves so that we can integrate it in our lives. Shadow work is not one of shadow work does not mean that you get rid of the shadow. That's ridiculous. Like if you go outside, you're always going to see a shadow behind the light of anything that you see, right? And so even within ourselves, that remains as true as well. Like we all are going to always have this shadow aspect of ourselves. But the point is that it does not show up in aspects of our lives that we are unaware that this is what's going on, that it's like our triggers is setting off this shadow to come out, and now it's out of control.
Right. So like it's having control over it. Like that's the thing. Like the thing is having control over it. And like we're talking about integration of the light and the dark, or the male and the female, the yin and the yang, however you want to look at that. But like through this integration is how like a birth happens through that. Like what is going to be born through this integration? Like what is the child when these two extremes can become one, because they are truly only two different extremes of the same thing. And so like this is what all life is about, like inside of ourselves, whenever we can reach that place of internal harmony, because that's all that we're talking about, or like inner union. And this is why you hear Osuntola always say it's an internal love affair. Like it's a love affair. So through the integration or the love making of these two, what appears to be extreme, when the love making begins to happen, it's always going to impregnate you like with something new that will be born. Like this is what this is about. And so this is why we can't run from that shadow aspect of who it is that we are. It's to embrace it. Like it's to love it, really. You know what I mean? And to unify with it, because it's going to produce a higher aspect of who it is that we are.
Absolutely.
Like God and the devil is two extremes of the same energy. This is why God never slews the devil in the Bible. The Bible says he confines him, but he never kills him. He never kills him, because they are two extremes of the same energy. And so this is why I say like God and the devil is the same being. It's like hot water and cold water. Like one might be hot, the other might be cold, but all in all, it's still water.
Yes.
It's still water. And so this is what we have to understand. So it's really nothing to fear. It's really nothing to fear. Like this is who it is that we are, but we've been trained to fear the dark. We've been trained to fear it. But we have our own dark aspect of who it is that we are. So,
and if we continue to suppress it, if we can continue to repress it, then what ends up happening is it ends up spilling over into our lives anyway, and in situations that we have less control over. You know, one way or the other, the shadow is here.
It's here.
You know what I'm saying? One way or the other. And so that's why before we started the course, we were talking about how brave it is to confront it, how courageous it is to acknowledge it and to go through this healing work. Because through this healing work, through this journey of shadow work, what we end up doing is understanding ourselves more. We start to accept ourselves more, and we're more aware of these things that are happening in our lives, so that we have, again, more control over how it will be integrated in our lives. The shadow is not meant for it to be disposed of. It's meant for you to understand how to integrate it into your life in a way that is beneficial to you instead of harmful to you.
Right. And the only reason that it becomes harmful in our life is because we want to deny it. We want to push it away. Like this is why it becomes harmful in our life. And this is why it causes, you know, like the kind of things that it causes in our life, the challenges that we're faced with in our life, because we're not acknowledging this aspect of, like, we're not integrating this aspect of who it is that we are. So it's putting us in a place of imbalance. And all dis-ease start from a place of being in a state of unbalance. All dis-ease start from that. So like the integration is what brings wellness and what brings health and what brings well-being. And this is what we have to understand about this aspect of who it is that we are, called the shadow.
Repressing your inner shadow can have dangerous consequences. Often, shadows manifest as triggers, emotional reactions we have yet to deal with fully, thus boiling to the surface under the right, wrong circumstances. When we do not address our shadows, they continue to subconsciously affect our behaviors. Right. It takes training, self-awareness, guidance, and courage to face your shadow self in a healthy way. Shadow work is designed to help you integrate and accept every single part of yourself so that you can live and thrive with more clarity and authenticity.
Right, because at the end of the day, like all that we're talking about is energies. Like we're talking about powers, we're talking about forces, we're talking about what me and Osuntola will call orishas, or and Kemet, like the Netu rules. Like this the only thing that we're talking about is different energies. Is that if we don't get control over these energies, then they will take control over us. But the whole point is to, yeah, we acknowledge all of these different forces, all of these different deities, but inside of me, like I am the master of them. I'm the master of them, so it makes me more powerful. Like it don't make me it doesn't weaken me. It makes me more powerful because I feel all of these things inside of me, but yet I'm in control of all of them. Like all of them are at my command. Like that's the whole thing.
And that's a beautiful perspective, because traditionally in our society we have been programmed to suppress these things about ourselves, and then not only suppress them but feel guilty and shame around them. Right? We've been programmed this way to try to the only word I can think of is suppress again, but suppress them in such a way that now that makes us a better person. Ignore them. Yeah. Now that makes us a better person. If I can suppress it within myself, then now I'm looked at as being more of a good person, more of a balanced person. And in actuality, what we're doing is allowing these energies to fester within ourselves. And it don't have to, like, just think about this. How many times have you seen or been in circumstances where you explode on somebody that really wasn't meant to get that energy? Like, I didn't even really mean to explode on you specifically. Yo, this is just, I don't even know where really that came from. That is of the result of not being able to deal with the anger that we have inside of ourselves, right? That comes and festers at the right, quote, wrong time.
Yeah, because all of these energies have a lesson for us to learn. Like all of these energies, like even if it's anger, like it's wisdom in the energy of anger. Like even if it's sadness, it's wisdom in the energy of sadness. But we don't extract the wisdom out of these forces, these spirits. We just allow them to lash out, like in most cases, like, because we have a story that goes along. Like if we can get rid of the story, like think of a person that you're angry at, you know what I'm saying? And every time you see this person, a story pops up in your head and this anger rises up. And so instead of you really learning, like really having, like taking the time to understand like the wisdom of what this energy is trying to, impart to you, like you lash out of this person. But what if you can get rid of the story? Like what if you can get rid of the story and just feel the pure anger or sadness and sit with that without the story attached to it? Because when it's like that, like when this energy rises up, then you're gonna be able to gain something from it. Like it's gonna show its face, and you're gonna get what you're supposed to get from it, and then it's gonna dissipate because there's no story attached to it that keeps it going on and on and on. Like it's wisdom in all of these energies. So we don't experience the energies purely. It's always a story attached to it, and we can't let go of the story.
And see, that's a really interesting thing too, because like this story that's playing out in your mind about whatever, let's talk about sadness or depression. You have this story playing out in your mind over and over again. And then I walk up to somebody like a Naru and be like, and she goes, "Hey, Osuntola, how are you today?" And I just bust out in tears because I wasn't able to confront the sadness that I was dealing with, or understand the story within myself. And so now I'm the first sign of somebody even trying to, in a general way, say hello to me, causes me to burst out into tears. These are some of the examples of the effects of not dealing with the shadow. When in actuality, when we deal with it, when we understand the story, we can, one, bring awareness to it. We can train ourselves as to, how this story is playing out. Why am I feeling this way? What is the true cause of it? You know what I'm saying? And we can recreate it. We can rewrite this story. We can make things in a different way. It's not one of the things that we find in the spiritual community is there's so much love and light. Oh, just positive thinking,
Right.
when in actuality, these emotions have to be felt. Like we are here. Emotions is nothing but energy and motion.
Energy and
So if
motion.
you're not allowing the energy to be in motion, then it's stagnant and it will boil to the surface eventually because it needs to be expressed.
Right. And we was talking to somebody, I can't remember, it might have been like a week or two ago. Like what if the end like let's say the energy of anger does arise in you. Like it's healthy ways of even dealing with that. Like I remember telling the sister, like, yo, go to the woods and just scream. Like find a healthy way to allow that energy to fully have its way, to express itself through you that might come out as something like a scream in the woods or something like that, like or like sadness, like like
Cry.
you know, like cry, like let those tears go. But it's not about any story that should be attached to it. It's about the experiencing of these different energies because it's not just joy all the time. Joy is not like it has its balance. It has its balance, and all of these energies are here for us to express them in our lives, like in a healthy way.
Yes.
In a healthy way. It doesn't have to be a destructive way in our life. Like when these energies show up, then wisdom has to kick in. Like how, like what is a healthy way to express this energy without it bringing more confusion or destruction into my own life? But still, this energy has, I'm a vessel for this energy to express itself through at the end of the day.
And a beautiful part of that process that we're talking about of being able to feel the emotion is that once you feel it, you're actually alchemizing it, right? You're actually transforming it. And therefore, what happens is that now you are able to speak about what it is that you felt, or at least deal with yourself in a more authentic fashion.
Right.
So many of us put on these fronts for our lives. We are taught to, you know what I'm saying? We are taught to present ourselves in a certain way that we will not be accepted for the hurt or the emotion, the shadow aspects of ourselves. Again, we have been taught to suppress them, so we have to put on these faces. But when we're able to confront them, we can have clarity about what's really truly happening within ourselves, and then show up in an authentic way.
Right. And remember, like all of these things, like we're talking about generation upon generation. Like we can be feeling a certain kind of way, feeling a certain kind of energy that really doesn't have to do with anything to do with our own personal life. Like because our ancestors continue. And so like these energies have to be confronted and they have to be dealt with. Like maybe one of our ancestors couldn't express the energy of anger in a healthy way. So by that not happening, like it's passed down to the next generation, but like it's not all the time what we are going through in our own personal life. It's just the work that has to be done because we are on top of this earth, like we're on top of this earth, like everything else is. And so by being on top of this earth, we have to be able to deal with every cosmic energy because we are like being infused with every cosmic energy. Like we are being impacted by every cosmic energy within this universe. So we can't come to the place where we can channel these energies will destroy you.
And it's a really interesting thing.
That's just how it goes.
Because a lot of times, as you continue to do your research about your ancestors, what you will find is some of these things that we consider brokenness within ourselves are actually things that our ancestors are dealing with or have had to deal with that are resurrecting within ourselves. And so sometimes the energy, especially as we go through this, and as you begin to really begin this relationship with your ancestors, sometimes the energy is not even yourself. Sometimes you're feeling it for them. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's being resurrected within you for them, for you to be able to transmute within your own self, within your own life. Is one and the same. And one of the beautiful things was when I recognized for myself that my ancestors was angry, it gave me so much more grace and mercy with myself. It gave me so much more compassion for myself, understanding for myself, because this is not just this is a you thing. Please mute your mics. This is not just this is me and I'm broken thing. No, this is this is generational. You know what I'm saying? This is what I'm working to heal throughout the generations. So it's a really beautiful healing journey when we are able to confront these things.
Right.
The shadow archetype, as defined by Carl Jung, I should have said Jung, not Jung, is the dark and emotional side of the personality or psyche. Anything that threatens the way you present yourself to the world will be seen as a threat to your identity and ultimately your safety. It is what you subconsciously reject about yourself, whether it's traumas, passions, or talents. Your shadow side includes traumas, reactions, fears, masks, secrets, and talents that you hide. It is anything we hate about ourselves and have been labeled as bad, wrong, or unlovable. Sometimes it manifests as negative self talk. Often, these rejected parts of ourselves result from childhood experiences. Some traits of the shadow work can include anger, manipulation, anxiety, envy, sexuality, greed, and selfishness.
Right. Like once again, like these are all like just energies. Like we have to be able to look at this as energies, because once we understand these things as energies, then we know that all energies can be transformed. Like it doesn't have to remain a trauma, like it doesn't have to remain anger. Like energy is like we are the alchemists. And this is what we have to understand about ourselves. Like we don't, it's not for us to remain in any certain kind of state. Like when we speak about these things today, like anxiety, like greed, selfishness, like it's not for us to remain in like any of these lower vibrational energies when we have the ability to transform them. Like everything is energy. It's just the wisdom and the understanding of how this is done. And this is what we are lacking by our culture being taken away. Like these secrets being taken away. And so now these energies have begun to work against us because we don't understand them. We are afraid of them. We don't, like, we try to ignore them, suppress them. But when we have the full experience of something, like this is about life, like whenever we have the full experience, let's say of anger, whenever we can sit with anger and have and allow anger to fully enter into our body to express itself fully through us, after that expression, the only thing anger can do is transform itself into the opposite of stream of itself. Mm-hmm. So anger then becomes what? Anger then becomes what? Like what's the opposite of anger? Happiness, or whatever the word is. But the issue is that when these when these energies, and I'm just sticking with anger, like when the energy of anger presents itself, instead of really allowing anger to have like a healthy expression through us, like we want to suppress anger, or we deal with it in the wrong kind of way. Like we might lash out at someone, like we might use it in a way that like brings more destruction into our life, confusion in our life. But anger has a lesson for us to learn. Like anger has healing, like because once we embrace it fully, and along with the opposite of stream of it, until we can express all these different extremes of who we are, and like in a full way, it can be no integration between the two. And this is what this is about, the integration between the two, because through the integration is where the birth happens. Mm-hmm. Where the birth happens, where the newness comes, where these two things become one. And so the child can be born, this newness of who it is that we are becoming. Like this is the only way that it can happen, just in the same way like of a man and a woman coming together to produce, or have a birth. Like it's the same thing.
And so not even understanding or recognizing this shadow aspect of ourselves, what that does is we start condemning ourselves. Right. Most of the time, we are our worst critics, right? We criticize ourselves worse than anybody else can criticize us. And so now we've realized that we exploded into anger. Oh, look at me. I'm, this so terrible. I'm always angry. I'm a BIT. You know what I'm saying? I'm a bitch out here in these streets, Like these things are what we're telling ourselves about ourselves. Constantly tearing ourselves down for things that we are not even aware of is a part of our nature, and that we should be understanding and integrating with, because the truth of the matter is that anger in itself is not a bad thing. Sometimes anger is necessary, just the way sometimes sadness is necessary. Sometimes anxiety is necessary. Sometimes these things is necessary, but it's really about more so, the integration of it. Right. When are these things necessary? Like, I don't need to just walk up to Kimwana or Journey right now and just explode on them. Like, yo, oh, why you exploding on me like that? I ain't do nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But if I'm angry and I go out to the woods and I go ahead and let that off, then it won't be no indication of that. But at the same time, if somebody is disrespectful, you know what I'm saying? If somebody actually does something to harm me, the anger is a necessary emotion to feel. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And I just want to say, like, the only way that a shadow can be looked at as something negative is when the integration is not going on. Like, that's
When
the
we
only way.
ignore it.
Like, when we ignore it, like, that's the only way. But if we consciously go on the journey of integration, of integrating those shadow aspect of who it is that who
We
we
are.
are, then it's not going to manifest in the way that it usually or typically does because of that integration. Because of that integration, something new is being born. It's going to be a different expression of it. Like it only can, like, too much good can be harmful to you. Too much good can be harmful. So it has to be an integration with the opposite of it. Like, this is what this is all talking about. Like, the integration, like, anything is harmful when it's at an extreme. Like, people just want to go off and you think you're just going to be a goody two shoes all through your life. You know what I mean? Like, then that's going to begin to impact your life in a certain kind of way where maybe people will begin to take advantage of it because you're so of a goody two shoes, or how they say, you're so heavenly bound and you're no earthly good. Like, it's the integration of them both. Like, both can wreak havoc in our life when the integration is not happening between the two extremes, family.
Yes, it's really one of those things that we should be looking at ourselves and asking ourselves, am I walking the middle path?
The middle path, right?
I'm not too good and I'm not too quote unquote bad. I'm right here in the middle. And whatever is being called for is the way, you know what I'm saying? That's what you will get. You know what I'm saying? It has to, this is our wholeness.
Yeah.
Ultimately, what we are striving for is wholeness. You know what I'm saying? So it's not about being too good or too righteous or too virtuous or any of those things. In the same way, it's not about being too devilish, too mean, too evil. All of these things need to be in balance.
Right. So what happens when, like, what is given birth to when these two extremes become integrated? When they begin to make love. You know what I mean? Like, what is going to be produced? Like, your true nature can only be produced when that happens. So this is why we can't run from no extreme or no polarity. A man shouldn't run from a woman from, like, in any way that you look at this. It's about the integration of the two, and this is no different. So those things that we feel like are not right about us, or those things that we try to hide about ourselves, like, these are the things that we have to come into, like, a oneness with.
Yeah.
Through that integration, and then you will see the healing that begins to happen in your life and how your true nature is produced from that, because you're not going to be responding in life in the same way. Like, even though you integrated with, let's say, anger again, like, whenever a situation arises, because of that integration with love or whatever that extreme is, it's going to look different. It's not going to be what you think. So the whole point is the integration of the two, and see what is born from that. Like, what nature is born from that.
How does your inner shadow affect you? Your shadow can have a negative impact on your well-being when you ignore or reject or have shame based around it. This is the part of you that craves to be understood and explored. We do not feel mentally or emotionally at our best when we have not integrated with our shadow. When ignored, your shadow will find ways to make you aware of its existence through self-loathing, poor self-esteem, self-deceit, and deceiving others, anxiety and depression, offensive behaviors towards others, and struggling to have healthy relationships with others, self-sabotage, self-absorption, and an inflated ego. When we reject our shadow, we also project it onto others. Projection happens when we see things in others that you subconsciously recognize within yourself. As a result, you seek to judge or punish others who reflect those same traits.
Right. You know what I mean? It's like Osuntola was saying, like, you try to hide something away for long enough, it's going to start festering in your life. It's going to start overflowing out into your life because it's impossible to do it. You know what I'm saying? The only choice that we have is the integration, because if we don't do that, then I know we all have recognized how these shadows have impacted our life. Like, it's never going to stop. It's never going to go anywhere until it's fully acknowledged and accepted and embraced and integrated with, so we can truly become well, so we can truly become, you know, like we think we good people because we suppress things away. You ain't like, no, you're not good. You're not good. Like the goodness can only happen when the integration takes place. Like in our life, then we can be who it is that we are supposed to be on planet Earth and fulfill our destinies and live our purposes. Like then we can do that. But until then, we always going to be at a place of unbalance or dis-ease because we're trying to suppress the aspect of who it is that we truly are. Like it weakens us. Like we're never going to be as powerful as we can be. So the more powerful we are, the more energy that we have to complete the missions that we come here to complete. We weaken ourselves when we deny certain aspects of who it is that we are. It makes us less likely to complete our destinies and fulfill them.
It's really an interesting thing to me. One part of this slide, the part that says your shadows crave to be understood and explored.
Right.
Your shadows crave to be understood and explored. So I'm going to show my ass at the most inconvenient time for you because you're ignoring me. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to throw a temper tantrum because you refuse to acknowledge me and explore what it is that I've come here to teach you. And these are the things that we consider weaknesses in our lives. And then that plays out in our lives through all of these different things that we talked about. But then in addition to that, let's just think about somebody that really annoys you for no reason. Like you don't have any real reason not to really dig this person, except if there's something about this person that just triggers you for whatever reason. For whatever reason, it's most likely because subconsciously that person reminds you of an aspect of yourself that you're not willing to look at within yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, so we can, so again, it's like, we can, I can, this about you all day, which is putting me in the space of a victim. You did this to me, or I don't like this about you. That's victim shit. On the opposite hand, I can say, okay, what is it about you that's causing me to feel this way within myself, and then explore that within myself so that it's not like I can't project that on you. I can only deal with it within myself. Right. And once I deal with it within myself, now I don't have judgmental behaviors. Now I'm not punishing you for the, you know, what I feel like is triggering me.
Right. Like we have to be able to contain these energies, because if we can't contain them, then like Osuntola said, like they spill out, like we lash out at people. So we can't contain these energies within our own being. Once again, that's letting us know that we are being weakened, like because we're unleashing all of this energy, that if we can contain it inside of our own being, it will enhance us in the ways that we need to be enhanced. But we study unleashing it. We study unleashing it. We can't contain it. We got to spew it out in some kind of way, not realizing how this is weakening our very selves, like the harm that it's causing. You know what I mean?
And so really, again, taking what we consider weaknesses and making them strengths in our life, right? What is the goal of shadow work? Shadow work isn't a flaw or a mistake. It is a natural part of who you are. Right. At the heart of it, shadow work is about developing self-awareness and ultimately self-acceptance and compassion. It is both a therapeutic and spiritual journey of self-love. It helps you to acknowledge the existence of shadows and explore them. For those whose shadow is associated with trauma, it allows you to work through the trauma and embrace the parts of yourself that have been shamed or suppressed. By accepting our shadow self, we can begin to see how our thoughts and emotions influence our behaviors. Once we are aware, you can control and empower yourself to live life more deliberately and consciously. You can start to show up as your authentic self.
Right. And so like I like the word control, because like whenever we're not in control of ourselves, that means other things are in control of who it is that, you know, like the actions that we take. Like someone can bring you out of your character. You know what I mean? Like how often does that happen? Like when someone makes you, you know, like whenever you react to something that someone else has did that, you know, it's against like your true nature. You know what I'm saying? So by us being able to control, like this is how we stay like in control of our destinies and our life. Like that's the whole point, to where other people are not controlling that. Like we give other people power over us, like through not facing shadows and not being, you know, able to contain these different energies, like these, like not being able to contain them and allow them to empower us. And like by us not being able to do that, it weakens us once again, and it gives other people more of an opportunity to be in control. Like, this is how real this is. Like, you know how many people, like, let's say if a person was in control of their own anger, like how many people would still be alive? Like, how many people might not would be in prison? Like, how many marriages maybe would have been saved? Or like all of these things that have happened in life because people haven't been able to control the energy of anger, but anger controlled them. Like, you know, when you do something and then immediately after you do it, like, man,
damn,
like,
I wish I didn't do that.
Like, I done fucked up. Like in that split second. Like, that's how easy it is. But this is how important this is, to get to know these energies and embrace and make these energies like integrate with them, so those kind of things don't happen in our life. Like, this is extremely important. You can look back and see like all of the chaos and the destruction that it has caused in life.
One of the things that I appreciate about this slide is shadow work is a natural part of who you are. Your shadows is a natural part of who you are. So what does that tell us immediately? It tells us that we're perfect in our imperfections.
Right.
We're already perfect in our imperfections. And one of the things that if you get the opportunity to be around me or talk to me long enough, you'll hear me say that people can only operate from the level of healing that they've experienced in their own life. And so coming through this shadow work aspect of ourselves, we start to learn how to love ourselves. We start to learn how to accept ourselves and offer ourselves grace. We offer ourselves compassion. If we can offer ourselves compassion, then we're more open to giving compassion to others, right? And so it's not just, it's shadow work is a therapeutic in the way of being able to confront those hidden aspects of ourselves, and then as in a spiritual journey, helping us to love ourselves in such a way that we are able to expand, to empower, to live from a place of grace and compassion, not only for ourselves, because now what we do is we understand I'm perfect in my imperfections. And so I give myself that grace. I don't want to be judged. I'm learning not to judge myself for these things. Therefore, I don't want to be judged by others for these things. Therefore, I don't judge others for these things. You know what I'm saying?
Just look at fear. Like, think of fear. Like, some people deal with fear, like as a, you know, like as a shadow or as a trauma. Like, what if fear, like, if we just gave fear control of our life, like, how much would we accomplish in life? But what if we integrated fear with the opposite? Like, what's the opposite of fear? What is it? Love? Probably. You know what I mean? What if fear was integrated with love? Like, what would that produce inside of ourselves? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what we're talking about, is the integration of extremes. Like, this is what all life is about. Like, this is just to just be lining up with all the things that we have been learning about, the fact that we are one with nature. Within nature, all nature is showing us is balance and the integration of two extremes. Like, it's the same concept. Like, it's the same work. But it's a personal work.
Yeah.
It's a personal work. And this is what makes it scary for a lot of people. You know what I mean? Because it's a personal work. It's not work that no one else can do for us. It's a journey that we must go on
for ourselves.
But this is what life is all about as well. Like, you can lead a horse to the water, but you can't make him drink. Like, it's a personal thing. Like, it's a self-work that we all are going to be held accountable for.
And it's a really beautiful thing too, when you start to really start to accept these things about yourself, because a lot of the things that we consider shadows are the things that we feel ashamed of. And so that has the ability for somebody to be able to hold something over you. But once you confront these things about yourself, you are free. You are free. I don't have any reason to hide away from who it is that I am. You know what I'm saying? If you get anger from me, you deserved it, because I already worked on that stuff within myself. You know what I'm saying?
It's a certain thing known as righteous anger, righteous anger.
I'm just talking about in general, like, what doing our shadow work actually does is it releases us from the prison of shame and suppression. It releases an oppression. It releases us from that prison, because now it's like, you can't say nothing about me that I don't already know about myself. You know what I'm saying? And I'm able to stand in who it is that I know about myself. So this is how, like, if it's not for you, it's okay. It's not for you, because I'm okay with it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm good with it.
And this is also about just understanding our cosmic makeup. Like, this is what astrology and all of these things is about. It's understanding the energies that came together and the manifestation of you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I mean? You might have a lot of Ogun in your chart. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like Ogun is about war. You know what I mean? Like it's just how we are made and just embracing who it is that we are. You know what I mean? Like this is what this is all about. Is
Mm-hmm.
embracing who it is that we are with like in love, like and getting to know who it is that we fully are. You know what I mean? Like this is what this is about, but not allowing these things to overrun in our life to where they are, you know what I mean, spilling out or controlling us because we have been given domain over this realm. You know what I mean? Like we have been given a domain over there. So this is about being in control, getting to know all of these energies personally, whether if it's sadness, if it's anger, whatever it is, getting to know it, like sitting in that energy without a story attached to it. Because long as a story is attached to what, you know what I mean, the experience of that energy, then it's going to take away from you really getting what you're supposed to be getting from that encounter. Like
even rewriting the story helps.
Or rewriting the
story. You know what I'm
saying? If it's
like
a story of, you know, like someone did something to me or something like that, like release that and just get to experience the energy without the story. Is what's most important.
Benefits of shadow work. 1, you gain more confidence and self-esteem. There's no more hidden self-doubts about parts of yourself that you may dislike or even loathe. Shadow traits are actually valuable parts of your personality. They are most problematic when we are not aware of it. 2, it improves your creativity. Your shadow hides some phenomenal parts of yourself. Instead of suppressing your darker self, you can fully tap into the unique expressions it hides. And 3, it builds better relationships with others. Only when you fully love and accept yourself can you fully love and accept others. When you tame your projections, you can see others for who they really are. You no longer see them as projections of the side of you that you dislike.
Right, because it takes control. Like it takes control. Like even, you know, people look at the world through anger. Like some people look at the world through sadness or look at the world through frustration. Like it can take control of you like that. You know what I mean? To where you're actually seeing your world in this kind of way. And so we have to understand how these things impact us because it's not for us to see the world in no kind of extreme. It's for us to see the world for the oneness that it truly is, not from no extremes. Like this is what brings the dis-ease into our lives and into the societies and communities from seeing the world from extremes. This is what got the man thinking that he sits above the woman and the woman is way down here. Like all of these ways that this being at extremes impact the reality that we are here experiencing. You know what I mean? But imagine a world of oneness and integration. Like what kind of reality would that produce?
Yo, just the simple from the place of understanding, like now that we are here and we're thinking about our shadows from the space of understanding that there's hidden talents and gifts there. Right. Like instead of being like, dang, I'm this and I'm that, I'm angry, I'm depressed, I'm emotional, whatever these things of looking at it from aspects of these are my hidden talents, these are my unique gifts. This is how the universe has blessed me to bless the world. When I understand these things about myself, I'm able to use these things in service to others as well. It helps to build those relationships. It helps us to
understand what it is, because like Osuntola said, depression, like, or sadness, like if you truly understand what sadness is, like this is how you are able to really help someone get past what they are going through in their lives when they're dealing with similar issues, but maybe that person don't understand that energy and the depth and the in-depth way that you do. You know what I mean? So you can, you know, like really relate to that person, what's truly going on in their life, not from that shallow, this person did this to me, or nah, like to go deeper into what that energy is really here to show and reveal to a person, because you have had that intimate encounter with this energy, and now you can go out and be a greater healer to truly make the world a better place. Or you know what I'm saying? It's not through ignoring it, because through ignoring it is like we're not going to have the impact in this world that we can have. You know what I mean? Because like once again, like we are weakening ourselves, and so this is about self-empowering.
It helps us to practice self-acceptance. You can get rid of self-loathing. You may unconsciously have repressed your shadow by fully accepting yourself. Accepting your shadow and feeling self-compassion opens the doors towards healing. It helps you to discover your hidden talents. You will discover inner strengths and resources you did not recognize before. People sometimes fear their inner darkness will overcome them. However, in most cases, it is the gold and the shadow that takes the most space and has never been given the opportunity to thrive. Shadow work can allure these traits out of hiding and walk you through every step of your life. So when we talk about that it can take the most space, right? So when I was younger, I was told that I talk too much, right? You talk too damn much. You need to learn to shut your damn mouth. So what did that do? That made me feel like I should not be saying anything, right? It keeps my voice suppressed. I'm not gonna say nothing. I'm gonna just shut the fuck up and not say nothing. I don't care what y'all say. I'm gonna keep my opinions to myself. And so through my shadow work, what I came to recognize is, no, my voice does need to be heard. You know what I'm saying? It is needed because there are people that need what it is that I have to say. So that's part of my shadow work. Come to find out, look at the gift that it has been. Look at how it has actually helped to encourage and empower other people to start their healing journey. But it could have been suppressed. It was one of my biggest gifts. So by not understanding by if I had to continue to allow that story of you talk too much, you need to keep your mouth, and especially as children, we always stay in a child's place. You know what I'm saying? You don't have, your voice is not supposed to be heard. You're supposed to be seen and not heard. And those are the things that we travel through our lives with. I feel that a lot of us feel that we are introverted because of this. You know what I'm saying? But once we recognize and accept about ourselves that, no, like my voice deserves, I can live out loud. I can be heard. Then that, in essence, is a gift not only to ourselves. It freed me, you know what I'm saying? But it ended up being a gift to others. And so that's really what it's talking about the gold and the shadow. Like these things that we hate about ourselves are really, really can be a big expression of the gifts and the talents that we have to not only for the benefit of ourselves, but for the world.
Right, yeah, I look at it like, how a quiet person is always thinking like, yo, like when that person speaks, they say everybody really listens. You know what I'm saying? Because like of the quietness that person always exuded, like that they're in this place of deep thought in some kind of way. Like a quiet person, you know what I mean? Then whenever they begin to speak, they realize how much impact that they have around them. You know what I mean? Because they're not always talking. You know what I'm saying? But when they do talk, it's that like it's much more powerful. Like Osuntola said, those people that feel like they're introverts, like whenever they begin to speak, like they're gonna draw attention. You know what I'm saying?
We had a client within the last couple of weeks, and they was talking about, they were just feeling, sadness within themselves. And during that conversation, they were able to even acknowledge within themselves that they recognize that their emotions is actually healing to others. That's part of their like that's part of their work is through their emotions, and it's through that empathic nature, right? But we can't suppress that within ourselves if that's supposed to be of benefit to someone else. If you're an empath, then that means you may be able to create safe spaces for other people to express what it is that they're feeling. But you have to be able to feel that fully within yourself. You know what I'm saying? So these, once again, it's just really wanting to emphasize to you that you can discover hidden talents and gifts within yourself just by acknowledging, being aware of your shadow aspects. These are the things that can empower you.
Right, they will empower you.
People can only operate from the place of healing they've experienced within themselves. Shadow work improves overall wellness. Many are not even aware all the problems that arise from repressing any aspect of yourself. Shadow work helps you to take control of your healing journey by starting at the root. It increases your compassion towards others. Shadow work helps you to reduce your projection when you're interacting with others. You are less likely to be triggered by other people's personality traits and quirks. This can help you feel more compassionate towards others. Instead of seeing the darker side of yourself, you can see them as people who are dealing with their own inner battles. Mm-hmm. So here we are again. So one of the things that our society does is we're a symptomatic society. Oh, I'm feeling dizzy. You go to the doctor. Okay, the dizziness is because of this, but we're not going to address the whole issue. You know what I'm saying? In its fullness. Same thing goes like shadow work is, no, I'm going to address the issue at where it begins, which is at the core of who I am. You know what I'm saying? It's allowing you to go to the deepest part of the womb and really starting that healing process from the deepest aspect of your womb.
Right. And then once we understand, like we all do, like life is only a reflection anyway. Like if you're steady attracting things into your life that causes you to be angry, then this is something that you got to go inside of yourself to deal with, to confront. Like it's never going to go anywhere. Like as within, so without. And so like if we're hiding those things, and the deeper that we ingrain ourselves with these things that we think that we are hiding, the more that they're going to show up in our life and the experiences that we have. So what is the greatest thing for us to do is to face these things, to integrate with these things, to get to know them. You know what I mean? So we can heal in the ways that we truly need to heal internally, so that way we can have a different external experience. Like we're not going to change anything or make our life any better by trying to hide something away or bury something away. Like it's through, like we're talking about, the integration of the two, that are understanding, like you come to an understanding on the inside of yourself. Like this is what this is about. An understanding that you come to, or a peace that you come to on the inside of yourself, which produces that outwardly. Like I know these things we all know, you know what I mean? But this is the same thing that has to happen with life and death. Like this is what we're truly talking about, because people equate death to darkness. People equate death to like this dark place where you're going to go and nothing. Like death is just darkness. But what if death, or what they consider death, which is darkness, is illuminated with the light? If the two was integrated, like why would you fear death then? Because death is only considered this place of darkness. You close your eyes and you enter into a place of darkness. That's how people view death, as this darkness that they fear. But like I say, if that integration happens, like while you are living, like then you never have to fear an eternal darkness. You know what I mean? But the integrating of the two extremes will produces something brand new. Brand new. So
which brings us to number 8, having better clarity. Shadow work gives you better clarity on how thoughts, emotions, and feelings lead you to act the way you do. Once you know this, you can show up more with more clarity and authenticity. So here we are again. I have walked through my own darkness, and now I'm illuminated. We are illuminating the dark spaces within ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Within ourselves. So I'm really excited. The more you integrate the more you integrate yourself and shadow, it encourages us to access why we are the way we are, how we feel about it, and decide whether this aspect of our true selves need work. It also teaches us forgiveness, especially towards ourselves, and it grants us compassion at our own humanity. It is crucial for your personal development to become the best version of yourself.
Right. And you know, like it reminds me like of so many different stories, like in my own personal life. Like whenever I was, you know, for one, when I was diagnosed with the aplastic anemia, and you know, like back then, all the doctors telling me, you know, like, yo, you're getting ready to die and all of these things. They, you know, prepare for you know, start, you know, living the quality of life versus the quantity of life. Just enjoy the life that you got left, like preparing me for all of that. You know what I mean? And then I walked away from the medical system. And then when I walked away, they gave me like 4 to 6 months to live. And the only reason I'm saying, this was years ago now, but the only reason I'm saying that is because I really had to have that, you know, like sit in that place like with death, because that's all that I was hearing. You know what I mean? Okay, let me sit in this place of what they saying, what they're continuously telling me that's getting ready to happen to me. Let me get to really know what death is. You know what I mean? I'm not going to fear death. Like you're trying to pump all of this fear into me about death. And this, in most cases, this is what causes people to do transition, because they are in such a place of fear of what death is. You know what I mean? Or fearing death. But really coming to peace with that inside of myself. Like I tell people, like, yo, I walked all the way to death's door, and me and death had a conversation. You know what I'm saying? We were like, yo, like we had a conversation. You know what I mean? Like we became integrated. You know what I mean? A marriage, or just whatever you want to say. You know what I mean? Because that was all the way back in like 2009 that I'm telling you that they gave me 4 to 6 months to live. Like we in 2022 now. You know what I mean? And they have no clue of why I still exist in this realm. You know what I mean? Without utilizing them in any way. You know what I'm saying? But this is what I'm saying. It's like, yo, it's about the integration of the two. It's about that. Like, and this is what so many of us have lived out in our own personal life. And I'm just giving you my like one of my stories.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Of that contrast of life and death. And thinking death was getting ready to overpower my life. No. You know what I mean? Me and death was getting ready to come into an understanding. Like we're ready to come into a peacefulness between the two extremes. And that's what happened. And that's why I'm still here. You know what I mean?
He's still here.
Right.
So glad you are.
I know. I know, because if I weren't here, then y'all might not have her, because she'll probably be coming right behind me. I'm telling you. It's like that.
Anyway.
It's like that. I remember one time when I thought Osuntola, when she first got mounted, you know, like in code, like in the Risha culture, like when the spirit comes down and possesses you, they call it being mounted. And the first time I was seeing that, and it was with Osuntola, and then whenever she got mounted, she just went out. You know what I mean? And then you know, like she was kind of conscious or whatnot. She would like take me outside, lay me in the ground, took outside and laid on the ground. But it's like she was leaving. But in that moment, a feeling came over me, like I felt up with like so much love for Osuntola. I knew in that moment, like if she would have went, like, yo, I'm coming with you, because it would have took so much from me. Like if she would have left, like what I thought was going on, but that ain't what was going on though. Like she was just being mounted.
Thankfully.
But just that, yeah, you know what I mean? But this is the bond that I have because of like we're talking about the two extremes becoming one. Like this is all the same thing.
Yeah.
Like the oneness that we have ever been able to cultivate in our own personal relationship. Like we are one, like me embracing who all that she is fully, and her embracing all that I am fully as the masculine and the feminine, giving birth to this oneness that we share, like in our relationship. Like this is all of life.
And what I do want to just make mention of is that because of the relationship that we are and how we see each other, we also can recognize our shadows within each other.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right,
so
because she triggered all mine.
Look, vice versa.
Like Osuntola,
vice versa.
All my
shadows.
You know what I mean? Like, yo, like if I would have ran, I
tried to run. I ain't gonna lie.
I wouldn't be, you know, like I don't even think I would have been alive. You know what I'm saying? I don't even think I would have been alive right now. Like if I would have tried to run, because, you know, like she was truly my opposite. You know what I'm saying? So like, and you know, like I'm truly her opposite. So we triggered each other in every way, but we stayed in there. Like we got understanding of one another. You know, like we didn't run. You know what I'm saying?
Like
most people run.
Truth be told, like because he is such an opposite to me, I really had to look at myself. Like he makes me really have to look at my own shit. You know what I'm saying? And really deal with my own shit, especially because of how compassionate he is and the way he moves through like anger or whatever it may be going on. Like, you know, I'm the one who'll be like off the chain, you know what I'm saying? And he's gonna shut all the way down.
I'm gonna internalize it.
I know you hear me, you know, and it had to really like that whole process. We really had to learn each other, and then I had to learn how he needs that time to process so he can get his thoughts together.
Understanding, which allowed us to integrate, like
he know that I have to express everything I feel right now.
And then Osuntola, like she was highly sexual. Like I'm
still highly sexual,
laid back. You know what I mean? Like she had this wild side.
I'm still wild.
She had this wild side that triggered everything about my reserved self. You know what I'm saying? And so, but her wildness woke something up in me, you know what I mean, that I was denying myself of, you know what I mean?
On the other hand,
my reservedness gave her more control over things that she needs to be more in control of. So this is all that we're talking about, like
it's all still
the integration of the two. This is what we're talking about. You know what I mean? She's still wild, but it's more contained though. It's more contained now. You know what I mean? And even though I've always been contained. I'm not now. I'm more expressive with that side of myself. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Just how
It's
it
a
goes.
really great
It's
harmony.
been
I'm
a
just gonna
journey.
say
Like,
that.
yo, it just ain't like, yo,
It's a great
this has been a
journey.
journey. Like me and Osuntola clash. Boom. We clashed, but we didn't run. Like we stayed in that place and we truly got to understand one another. Like when I look at her, I don't see something other than who it is that I am. Like I just saw the external reflection of my internal self. You know what I mean? Okay, like this is what I got to work on inside of myself. I truly looked at her like that. So it was just like this classroom that we was in, and we came to an understanding of each other, which allowed us to integrate and become one in the way that we have been able to do that. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing that we're talking about in this slideshow.
And it's still, you know,
Right.
honestly, like, you know, everything is a process. Everything is still a journey. It's not like, you know, we're perfect. We're perfect in our imperfections, but you know, like it is a beautiful thing to be able to understand and see that, you know, your partner is only reflecting an aspect of yourself.
So now she's like my greatest teacher. Like she tell me I'm hers. Like I truly tell, like that's real. Like Osuntola in my life has been my greatest teacher. And I know I have been there for her. And we continue to be there for each other because of the way that we challenge each other, but both of us understanding, okay, like this is an internal thing that's going on. Like let me face my inner self.
My inner self.
You know what I'm saying? And so this is about the extremes that we're talking about here. Like the same thing has to happen when it comes to the shadow and the light, because whenever you look at it, the woman represents the shadow or the internal. You know what I mean? The man represents the light, which is the external. You know what I mean? So it's that same understanding that has to happen, whether it's a relationship or we're talking about the shadow and the light aspect of who it is that we are. This is the same journey. It shows up in many different ways. But this is what has to happen.
So what I wanted to do is
now we got the most beautiful relationship ever. You know what I mean? So, you know, but this is what we're talking about between the two extremes that we're talking about right now. Yeah, because it ain't nothing that we can't go through. Like we done been through so much. Like, and one thing about when we go through something, we know that we are going through it together. Like we don't separate ourselves. Like, okay, boom. Like no matter what it is, we know that we're going to work through this thing as one. You know what I mean? And that's what we're talking about is the shadow and the light. The same thing.
You are so wise.
I'm just saying, yo.
So
it's real talk.
One of the things I wanted to do is give you all some work so you can get started on your own shadow work journey, right? So here's a divination. Again, you don't need tarot cards specifically to be able to do the divination. Oracle cards is more than you are more than able to work with your oracle cards as well. But the first card is in the first space. It represents how can I best access my subconscious? What is that shadow that I'm avoiding? 2 is how am I holding on? What am I holding on to that is hurting me? So that'll come up in the cards. 3, why am I not seeing? What am I not seeing clearly about myself? 4, why have I been experiencing negative thoughts? 5, what is a healthy way to express my shadow self? And 6, a message from your shadow self. Okay, so what I would suggest is go ahead and you can divine with one of the aspects of your shadow. Okay, what you already like when you think about your shadow, what comes to your mind first. We're not gonna go ahead and list everything. We just want that first one, and you don't have to tell me. I'm not nosy, but if you want to talk to me, then I'm more than available. You're gonna write down what comes up from this divination. Okay, see where it's playing out in your life right now. And then what I would like for you to do is instead of being the victim in that story, become the hero in that story. Yeah. Rewrite that story so that you're the hero in whatever aspect of the shadow that's comes out. Okay.
Because it's a story attached to all of these things. You know what I mean? It's a story, like a personal story, because we're talking about, like, you know what I mean, those things that affect us personally. Like it's a story.
I want to make sure that y'all wrote it down. If you need to, I'll go ahead and make sure I post it in the group as well. Somebody remind me. Y'all know I'll be forgetting. Somebody remind me. But after every single Shadow aspect, as you go through your shadows, and there's going to be more than just one. It's not just one aspect to any of us. Many of them come up. Remember to recite affirmations afterwards so that you can start to empower yourself about what the truth of the matter is within yourself. I am perfect in my imperfections. Say that 3 to 7 times. I love who I am and who I am becoming. I am healing. I am being gentle with myself purposefully. I am the master of my destiny, the main character of my story. I am in total control of who I give my energy to. Right. I choose myself every single day. I always have my own back. I am worthy. I am more than enough. I accept responsibility for my mistakes and I choose to learn from them. So remember, please, y'all, please, 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 and you'll hear me say it multiple times, and I always will, be gentle with yourself, love on yourself, know that you are the hero in your story. We have to begin to stop seeing ourselves as victims. Our society has set it up for us to be victims out here. Everything is being done to us instead of us being able to say, nah, this is not being done to me, it's being done for me. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to take this energy. I'm going to be the alchemist in this situation. I'm going to transmute this energy. It's going to work to my benefit. You are the hero in your whole life. You have the ability to recreate the stories that we are telling ourselves. And that's the first step towards any sense of empowerment.
We are telling ourselves. You know what I mean? And, you know, unfortunately, a lot of us have negative talk going on the inside of ourselves. You know what I mean? The story that we are telling ourselves. And so we have to change the stories. Like, we all done had trauma-filled lives, like growing up, like within the Black community, like the conditions that we have been in, like even our parents, like the traumas that they dealt with. And you know what I'm saying? Like me, like my mom, you know what I mean? She was alcoholic and a drug addict, like trying to commit suicide, like men and tried to kill her, like I'm living in the crack house, like all of this, like I've been through all of that, but it has molded me. Like when I truly looked at it, it has molded me into the person that I am now. You know what I mean? It has molded me into the person that I am now. And I know it's the same thing with all of us, like the things that we are going through, like they're truly creating us. Like they're not here to destroy us. They're here to, you know, like
empower us,
help us to become who we are becoming.
Take like, your weaknesses, you know, and make them into strengths.
Right. But you know? That's, remember, like that's what all of life is about. Like I just gave the short, you know, this example how me and Osuntola clashed. You know what I'm saying? Oh. But we didn't run from the work. But see, most people run from the work. Like yeah, like in the beginning of a relationship, like they be good, you be feeling each other, you be all the good things. But once them traumas start presenting themselves, that's when in most cases people go in separate ways. When the real work begins, like people normally split up when that real work begins. But if you can stay in that place of that work, knowing that this is a reflection of who it is that you are, you know what I mean? And being able to look inside of yourself. Like even though me and Osuntola went through traumatic things, like one thing about me and her, like we was able to move through these things fairly quickly because we understood like yo, this is really internal. Like let me take a look at my own self. You know what I'm saying? And deal with it from that aspect because it's as within, so without.
And it also gave us a lot of compassion for each other.
Compassion for each other. You know what I mean? And so like even getting to understand who it is that you are, like from an astrological standpoint, numerology, things like that. Because this is what me and Osuntola did. Like we studied each other. Like, let me look at her astrology. Let me look at her numerology. Let me look at the challenges that she came here to face, like those things that are challenging to her. So it gave us more compassion for one another because I understood like, yo, like this is really the lessons that she came here to learn, and she understood the same thing about me. So we was able to support each other more than just turning on each other. Mm-hmm. And this is the same thing with the light and the shadow. Like we have to understand that shadow aspect of ourselves because it's truly here to reveal something powerful about who it is that we are. Yeah. It's the same thing.
Questions, comments, feedback, concerns, toss us.
I want to say something. I had something to say to what Conjure was saying. So hopefully I can explain it the way it's in my head. So when you mentioned about you know, sometimes like the things we've gone through in our lives are what created this, you know, created who we are. So I try to think of that in a different way, in that okay, so I'll use an example. So you know how some people will say, or I'll use me as an example. So past trauma situations, I thought was the reason that I was very flirtatious. It's because of that I wanted to be flirty and I needed this attention and I wanted blah 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 blah. But as I grew up, as I matured, I started to understand that I am not who I am because of that situation. I was always a strong woman. I was always persistent. I was always a go-getter. I was always a fighter. I always had high sexual energy. I just didn't know enough to know how to focus that energy.
Right.
And so maybe that door to that energy got opened prematurely, but it was always a part of who I was.
Right.
So even past traumas that people go through, eviction, you know, getting hurt by our mates or whatever, and then you're angry and you're like, I'm not gonna, you know, this is never gonna happen to me again. But it's not that situation made you a fighter. You were always a fighter, but that situation is what triggered that innate part of you. And it's not that you didn't have that, it's just maybe you would not have recognized it at the divine time that you would need it had it not been for that situation. I hope I'm explaining this in the right way.
Absolutely.
But so it's hard for me to look at it as saying that it created us, and I don't believe that that's what you meant, but I know that sometimes people can misunderstand where you're coming from when you're saying that. Like, who we are is who we are, but certain circumstances have to occur in order for that strength or that gift or that energy to come forth, because we would have otherwise missed it, ignored it, misused it, what have you. So that was all.
Right. So like I would just say like what I mean is like we are, everyone is a sum total of the things that they have experienced like in their life. You know what I mean? Like you know, I chose, like we know now that we choose our parents and all of that. You know what I mean? And like in the conditions and the environments that we place ourselves in, because like the lessons that we need to learn in this lifetime on our journey of becoming who it is that we are destined to become, like we need these experiences for whatever reason that we need them for, because we signed up for it. Like we signed up for these things before we even came here. You know what I mean? And so when I finally got to that place where I could really look back over my life with a different level of understanding, I understood, okay, like why I needed to have the experiences that I had in my life as it relates to the work that I'm now doing, like in my life, because I can relate to so many people in so many different kind of ways. Like I'm able to be a greater being on earth, a healer, whatever you want to call it. Like I'm able to perform that more greatly because of the things that I went through, you know what I mean, in life that created me, you know what I mean, through experience.
I say.
Right.
Go ahead, Janae.
Right. I was trying to be quiet and then I forgot I was off mute for a second, trying to be ready for the next one. And then no, you didn't just call me my whole legal. Yes, you did. I want to say first and foremost. I know that's on, I'm on the phone. They don't have my whole job up. Janae is that the old person. I'm John.
Okay, John.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Gratitude. First and foremost, I love y'all to life. But I realized that even in hearing bro talk with like how y'all say y'all have integrated y'all energies within each other, like how you say he shuts down, I realize that I always come into class when I'm supposed to, because as y'all know, I've been with ET about 2.5 years, 3 years now or whatever. And I kind of shut down with the stuff that I be dealing with. And this past year with my sister, I realized that shadows is not only our stuff with ourselves, but how we deal with stuff. So even through listening throughout the whole class, like I'm like, dang, but this sound like one of the stages of grief and me still having to deal with certain stuff that comes up for me because I am in this certain type of space. So I just wanted y'all to know that I appreciate y'all. And even though I shut down and I might go into my own shadow sometime, everything y'all teach with the last 4 classes and everything, I'm grateful to have experienced it, to have been apprehensive with it, and then to come to the full graduation thing with it, and then to be in class and taking everything I'm taking in and still know that, like you said, be gentle with myself because I'm still learning. It's not like I'm going to get everything right up front. And this class today showed me that shadow work is not only shadow work for stuff that you have to deal with when you want to deal with yourself, but even when you're in a grief state, shadow stuff still comes up and you have to deal. And I'm dealing. And I appreciate y'all walking with me, whether y'all talk to me or not. I love y'all. That's it. Bye.
Let me just say this really quickly, Ja. The reason we added the shadow work aspect was because of you. Because one of the things that I did not recognize prior to my vets, one of the things that I did not recognize was how it can seem as though it's all rainbows and glitter. And so what I had to recognize is when we start doing this healing work, it actually stirs up those shadows. It stirs it up and you'll be like, what the fuck is this shit? I thought it was rainbows and glitter. And so and so what I wanted to do is make sure that we address those things as well, because again, I don't want anybody to feel like you're broken when it's not rainbows and glitter today. You know what I'm saying? Rainbows and glitter is is manifested from the inner work that we're doing in confronting the shadows and illuminating these dark spaces. So one of the things I would like to share with you all. So for me, one, I've always been very voluptuous. Like even 10, 11, 12 years old, I've always had big titties and all, you know what I'm saying? And so in my youth, you love it? Yeah. Oh. So, so over the years though, when I was younger, I used to try to hide it. You know what I'm saying? Big t-shirts, tomboy, you know what I'm saying? You're just not going to be able to see it. And over the course of the time of my healing journey, what I've come to understand is this certain aspects that I can't hide. Like whether I'm trying to or whether I'm not trying to, it's going to exude. Is part of my nature. And so as I began to embrace my own sensuality and my own sexuality, it freed me. And then in essence, from my own personal healing and my own personal freedom, it began to free others around me. So now when women are around me, they just feel open, more open to be their natural true selves. And that's ultimately like the power of my sensuality. That's the power of my sexuality. It's not that I'm super promiscuous or I'm always showing my body, but I accept and I embrace that aspect of myself, and I'm not going to hide it. And if that encourages somebody else, then that's just, it's a benefit. You know what I'm saying? So these are the things, like, it's not that they're not there. Is that when we try to suppress them, then we are ashamed of them. I'm ashamed that this is happening, so I'm not going to show a little bit of cleavage here. You know what I'm saying? Or I'm not going to, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to watch my words when I'm in, I do sometimes watch I'm refined now, thanks to my husband.
What a journey. What a journey, yo. I'm telling you, like, what a journey. Because it was just like, boom, like an explosion. You know what I'm saying? Like, because like in the beginning, like in that getting to know each other phase, it was just all beautiful and we connected and we falling in love and all of this, like that part of the story. But then when these things began to reveal themselves, like how sexual she truly was, like began to like come out, you know what I mean? And all the things that she wanted to experience, like in life, like it made me afraid of, like made me feel like, what am I, less of a man? Or like all of those things that I had to confront about myself because of who it is that she was. Like these were my own personal fears though, like my own personal fears. Like she was just being who she naturally is. Like this is all in her chart. She comes for sexual gratification and just even reading that, I'm like, what? Like I'm reading it, I'm just pissing me off at first. You know what I'm saying? For real,
You're a big
this is who it is that she truly was. So how can I deny her from being who it is that she actually is? So
And
this
then-
is an issue that I'm having.
And then what you
You know
came
what
to
I mean?
recognize and realize within yourself is what a benefit it is to you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's actually a focused energy. It's not, and one of the things he taught me was freedom and structure. You know what I'm saying? So yes, I'm definitely free and I'm definitely wild, but it's so much better when I can just enjoy it with him. You know what I'm saying? And so it helps us to open up the perception of what our relationship is supposed to be based off of society standards, and really made it so that we decide what is best for us and what we want to do and what we want to engage in.
Right.
And so it opened it up to more spontaneity and more
And just
adventure.
new experiences, like being able to experience things that I hadn't really experienced like that before. But now I'm experiencing them now, you know, and I love it. You know what I mean? So it's just that whole thing of like facing those things that you feel like are not who it is that you are, but then you discover like this is who it is that I am. You know what I mean? But it needed to be woke up in you. You know what I mean? And embraced and, you know, and enjoyed eventually. So
anybody else?
right.
Anybody else? Oh, y'all got quiet.
I'll talk.
Okay. Hey, Mocha girl. Hey.
Yes, Holla Naru, they ain't shit. Y'all in here cutting up. That's why ain't nobody talking, because we in here laughing at everything. He said, and I'm loving it.
Loving
me
it.
out.
Loving it, yo. Inside
Okay,
of myself, you know what I mean? So
yeah, but I understand and I can relate to what you were saying. But as far as the shadow work, y'all know I've been going through. I be texting Osuntola all times of the day and night because I be going through. Like I wake up first thing in the morning crying and stuff and don't know where it's coming from. But I am so grateful because I feel, you know what I mean, lighter, and I feel more free.
Yes.
I feel when I go to speak to people, I don't have the nervousness and things that I had before because I don't have a reason to, right? Because I love me, you know what I mean? So, and it just exudes the, you know, the confidence when needed. Now I have noticed this. If I do not meditate, and if I'm not, you know what I'm saying, doing those first things that y'all taught us, I'm off.
right.
Everything is off, and then I can't do, you know, what would normally come natural. So we still doing the shadow work. I think we've been started doing the shadow work since the beginning of classes. So, but this is great. Y'all still doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, Mocha, and I'm gonna watch my words. One of the things about you is that I recognized it immediately. You know, I recognized it immediately from early conversations, you know, so and so that was one of the reasons why, and many of the people on the line can say I've said the same thing to them in the beginning. Let's just go through the work first. Like, let's just go through the program and see how we feel after the program, because there's so much about ourselves that we don't understand in the beginning. And we don't even recognize that we're running from ourselves. We don't even know that there are shadows there, that there is a, you know, this darkness there. And again, we are taught to suppress them, specifically in the church. You know what I'm saying? Sins are bad, so stay away from that shit. And so, you know, one of the things that and in my own healing journey, it has given me, because of my own self-acceptance, because of my own self-awareness, it has given me compassion and it's given me grace. And so I always tend to, let's just go through the program first. Okay. Let's just see how it goes. Let's, you know, when things come up, the tribe is here so that we can talk to each other amongst the tribe, you know, because I can't necessarily be there in that kind of capacity that I would love to be for everybody at every moment. So we create tribe, we create community that is experiencing or has experienced the same thing, so that we can reach out to somebody who may understand what it is that we're feeling and what we're going through. So I'm really proud of you.
Thank you. I also wanted to add one thing that I was reminded of just now when you were talking. I went to church. Y'all know I was a church preacher's kid. I was singing in the choir when I was 2. They was putting me in the chair and I was singing in the choir. So that's all I know is church. All I know is playing music and singing for church. So we, back in like 2000, I think I was pregnant with my daughter back in 2004. They had something called an encounter. And it was, at that time, I didn't realize until now being in this class, it was just a different version, or the church's version of what we're doing right now. Like, you went this long list and checked out for all your little nasty, dirty sins and stuff, you know, and confessed them and everything, and then they prayed for you or whatever, and then you left and you were feeling free and light, you know. But this is just a more extensive, to me, and more detailed, more educated viewpoint of what it is that they were trying to do, because they made that shit was so mystical. I just didn't know. I didn't know if I did Jesus or what. I didn't know what was going on with it.
Right.
But this has been more beneficial for me. So kudos to y'all for that.
I say. Anybody else?
I think Brother Epsilon was going to say something. I could have swore I saw his hand up. Did I see your hand up?
Oh no, my hand's been up. I was just resting my hand on I was just playing with my hair. My bad.
Okay.
But I mean, what was the question again?
It wasn't a question.
We just wanted to see if anybody had any comments, questions, feedback.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess in terms of like getting better to understand my shadow self, I think really the biggest misconception or fear that I have isn't that I'm afraid of those darker qualities that I have, but more so that I just don't have a lot of experience with using them to my advantage or even trying to learn from them. Oftentimes it's more of a, like you said, it's a reactionary thing. So it'll be in response to something that stressed me out, and, you know, I'll like pop off on someone that didn't need to get popped off on. And, you know, I just realized, okay, I could have carried myself better if I had paid attention to these emotions I was feeling a lot earlier, or tended to these a lot earlier.
Right.
And you'll learn. And thank you for even mentioning that. One of the things I am going to do, it may already be there, but I'm going to double check. I'm going to add 25, I think it's 25 prompts for shadow work. Okay. So as you go through these things, as we are aware of these things are coming more and more in the light, we can go ahead and start writing about them, talking about, not with me, in your journals. That's why I said, if you this is the time to have a journal if you don't already, so that you can write down how these shadow aspects have been playing out in your life, what triggered them, and then recreate that story. Again, it's not so much about getting rid of them, but integrating them. You know what I'm saying? And so if we rewrite the stories, if we are aware of them, and then rewrite the stories associated with them, then they will play out differently, and it will empower you, and it will bring more of your authenticity to the forefront.
Right. And we're gonna get more deeper into that in the next class. We're gonna go deeper into that. You know what I mean? So Sure.
Anyone else? Yes, Kim Renee.
So I want to, did I take my,
No, you good.
I'm off mute. Oh, okay. Yeah, so I have been working in shadow work since about end of 2018, 2019. Let me tell you, it doesn't end. The integration starts, and yet you uncover more layers. It's like a onion that have too many you know, rounds. And I will add on to what Osuntola and Conjure said, is like, if you get into a state where you feeling the mental health issue come up, I feel like with mental health, we all are on a spectrum of that. There's, you know, where it's not affecting your life much, it's kind of quiet, and then you have the loud, is really, you know, disrupting your energy daily. I've been through the gambit of those things before even starting the shadow work. And I would just say that, yeah, I think we said Kiwana and Journey were the two people. And also reaching out to Osuntola. If ever you need anybody, please do so, because it's deep work once really start looking at yourself as a full person. And you also start realizing, like, when that energy goes out, you'll start losing people. People that you really loved and cared for and really thought were in your corner, you will start seeing another side of them, because if they're also not working on themselves and you're really doing this deep work on yourself, it really irritates something in them. And just like we were saying, when we get triggered, we are in study, so we know what we're doing.
Right.
And they start lashing out in ways that you like, wait, hold up. And it may kind of start to dismantle, the reality that you're used to. So, and that, unfortunately have been my experience. I'm not going to say it's going to be everybody's experience, but something in your world's going to shift. I'm sorry. If you let shadow work, something's going to shift, and it's going to have an effect. So just be
already shifting. So I'm waiting for it.
Yeah. Just and this is for the collective. Just do your self-care. Just love on yourself. Anybody who is supportive of you is in here in the community as well. We just love on each other and help each other up, because and I need to take my own advice, because y'all know y'all don't see me. Y'all know y'all don't see me. And I go into my cocoon, and occasionally I reach out to Osuntola and Conjure, but I need to, reach out to my brothers and sisters, y'all, more, and connect with y'all more, because I do love y'all. I'll be peeping in and liking and loving on y'all's comments, but I definitely, peace to y'all. And yeah,
peace to you.
Quite a ride. I'm ready.
Right.
As melanated people, the descendants of the enslaved, we all have generational traumas and that are deeply rooted, right? And so, when we talk about like shadow work, shadows are definitely a part of us no matter what. However, specifically with us, the ones that of the enslaved, we have had to deal with more trauma, as a community, you know what I'm saying, than other people of different races have had to. And so, it is in my opinion that, we all should be seeking some kind of mental counseling, therapy. And so so I appreciate you, Kim Renee, for bringing that back up again. And I do, if you don't mind, Janae, Kim, want to just, I don't want to put y'all on the spot. Y'all look like y'all chilling, you know what I'm saying? But if you could just a little bit, just expand a little bit more, especially because we're dealing with shadow work and how those are those triggers that can set us all off. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and let y'all talk.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Peace, everybody. It's Janae. So just a few things, because I was wanting to speak just a little bit before. So yesterday, I had pulled a card. I pulled several cards, but the only card that really stands out to me was fighting. And as soon as I saw the card, I knew it had to do with me, like fighting myself, pretty much, like that shadow side. Me fighting against me just being my natural self. So I feel like with shadow work, because I've called myself doing shadow work before, but one thing that I'm really learning and accepting is that, like, every time we grow, like, say we quote unquote like level up within ourselves and we become a new person, stuff comes back up. And because we are a new person, we're going to see it differently. So that those shadows in myself that I had thought I had worked past is coming up, but it's looking differently now.
Right.
So I know, like, within my relationship, when we first got into my relationship, we kind of labeled my shadow self. We call it hoodie. Like, I don't know if y'all have ever seen the Kermit the Frog memes, like where it's Kermit looking in the frog and then he has Kermit with the hoodie. That's my shadow self, hoodie.
Hoodie.
Yeah, hoodie be wanting to, like, just cut up. Like, hoodie cuts up. And so initially, okay, it's a few things. I'm bringing it all together. So it's a new Doctor Strange movie. I don't know who saw that new one. So at one point, I think her name is Phoenix or something like that. Like she went into her mind. It was a different version of her. But I kind of had to do that with Hoodie. Like I was like, okay, you know what? I'm about to go put Hoodie in a little cage, you know, because Hoodie be cutting up. So I'll call myself putting Hoodie away. But it goes back to what you were saying, Osuntola, as far as we don't have to get rid of our quote unquote shadow self. So it wasn't so much that I need to get rid of Hoodie, but I had to understand Hoodie's role in my life. And so Hoodie was there. Hoodie had a role, but I didn't need Hoodie anymore because Hoodie was there to protect me. So I feel like a lot of times our shadow self is there to serve as a protector. We're always trying to avoid pain, right? So when you develop that aspect of your shadow self, that's something that you develop as a child or a young person, whenever you developed it, as a way to protect yourself. Like for whatever reason, you felt like in this certain circumstance, you need to be protected. And that's how you learn to protect yourself, either the anger or whatever your shadow self looks like, but that's how you learn to protect yourself. So it's not so much that you don't need it, but we have to realize in certain circumstances, oh, okay, I'm safe. Like, so for me, that's been the grounding thought for me is I have to remind myself, like, I am safe. Like, Hoodie, it's okay. I got this. Like, you don't have to be rah, 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 because I'm safe. Like, this is a safe situation. So Hoodie's not needed. So for me, just working through that, like reminding myself, I am safe, I am loved, I am grounded, has been like the biggest thing. But like I said, stuff still comes up. So I have to go back to that basic, very basic reminder, like I'm safe, you know? Yeah, so.
Sure. I just wanted to add on to what you were saying, like that Hoodie person.
I love Hoodie.
I love that shit.
I love Hoodie.
Like I love, because like you said, like it's just safer ways to express that energy, but the Hoodie energy, like I love it.
Let me just tell you, because
like,
Hoodie's gonna be necessary one of these days.
Express that energy in a safe way. So
yeah,
that's beautiful, because you know, like even if it's with like me and Osuntola riding with the, you know what I mean, music banging, blunts going, like whatever, like just that, you know what I mean, just that energy, you know what I mean, to be in that kind of space, like giving it a different expression, you know what I'm saying, like, but being able to express that hood energy, because that's a part of who it is that we are too. Like, and I love it. Like I love Osuntola. She got that in her deep. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like she can be that, you know what I mean? Even if it's just me and her, like, but she can tap into it. Like, so it's just about giving it a more healthier expression. You know what I'm saying?
First of all, Bala Ghouls all day. Okay. I love that shit. It's my shit, yo. I like to know, because it's important to know who I'm surrounded by. You know what I'm saying? And it's important to know, like, when the time comes that is needed,
right,
that Hoodies can come out. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So in that respect, like I love the way the analogy, you know what I'm saying? I love the analogy. And I also appreciate how, you know, that you're able to even recognize it within yourself. And like you said, like, all right, it's not necessary right now. I can go back, I can chill, you know what I'm saying? And that's a lot of my own personal work as well. Like I have to really recognize within myself, like, okay, it's not like I'm good, I'm safe, I'm secure, you know what I'm saying? Because when it's time for that, it's already there, ready, and you know what I'm saying? I know it's there, and I know I'm gonna need you at some point in time, just not today.
Yeah, but like I was saying, it don't got to be in no destructive kind of way, because the hood energy is a beautiful energy.
You can go to the railroad with it. You can go to the forest with it. Punching bags. They got
just somebody that you can kick it with, that you know what I mean.
Sometimes
like,
just let loose.
I love it. You know what I mean. Like most of my friends, Osuntola tell you, like most of my friends is that. Like I love having that complementary energy. Like most of my friends is that, you know what I mean? Like to be able to go and be in that energy in a safe kind of way, like like I like that Hoodie energy too. So
Gray hooded loaded Lux. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry. Same scenario.
Yeah, that's those two extremes. Like,
and then you just made me think about a beautiful ceremony that we could do where we actually allow that warrior energy to come out for it. You know what I'm saying? Like really cultivate that in a healthy environment ceremony. You know what I'm saying?
Because everything is about giving these energies like a vehicle of expression.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And that's expression.
Go ahead. Go ahead,
No, I'm
Janae.
just saying not suppressing it, right?
Yeah, like giving
Yeah.
it a vehicle of expression, but like you said, creating those healthier environments where you can go and you can be in that energy, you know what I'm saying, and express it, you know what I mean, and like in a way that's safe. Not saying wilding out, but just tapped into like that particular vibration. You know what I'm
Right. 'Cause
saying?
for
Like,
me, I don't want to bring that to my relationship. Like,
right,
like,
right,
if you
right,
feel
right, right.
insecure, I don't want to be. I don't want Hoodie to come up like, oh, like,
Oh yeah, yeah.
you
Like I
know.
said,
So
like knowing
yeah.
when,
So it's
like the environment for it,
right. Exactly.
the
So
environment for it. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
So
Like,
yeah, Ocean told you was talking about just like the trauma to like just generational. And I literally, everything with y'all was always just like, oh, okay. I was listening to something about epigenetics earlier this week. Same thing, and so what I came from that with what I took from it is like, we just have to create the opposite within our body, within our mind, which is that love, like that love frequency. It's gonna change the DNA. Any DNA that was
right,
like damaged through like epigenetics, trauma, we can, like when we do our ancestral work, that's replacing that. Like I feel like that's improving that. Like and just putting that love energy over our body. Like
right,
it's the love. It go. I mean, I really feel like love really is the answer.
It is.
right,
like it's really the love. So
right, 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 right. And like even with that hoodie energy, like that's what people that I know love me. You know what I'm saying? That I know love me just to go hang out with. You know what I mean? And just like just to be in that vibe. You know what I mean? Like I say, like my best friends is that.
And can I just say, like, even though, like, with y'all, with him, even though you always see him in this real calm, cool, peaceful, loving energy, like, anytime somebody comes at me or our family, that energy flips. And I remember when that energy flipped, the first time I really saw it and acknowledged that energy, was like, damn, that's sexy. Whoa. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's just really,
It was like that too.
it really is like one of those, because when we're talking about our relationships, right? Specifically in a relationship, we don't want to be at each other, right? Necessarily, we don't want to be at each other, but when the time comes for me to have to stand up for him or him to have to stand up for me, you know what I'm saying? Like, you want to see that, you know what I'm saying? You want to know that is accessible. You want to know that it is there. You know what I'm saying?
And it's ready, and it's not suppressed.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Like you're not backing
down
down from something because you are in fear of it. You know what I'm saying? But like if it needs to come to the forefront, it's there to come to the forefront. You know what I'm saying?
So stay ready. You don't got to get ready. Like, you know what I mean? Like, don't suppress that energy. Just find a healthy way of expressing it. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Wanda, did you want to add on?
I did. Well, first of all, thank you for all of the positive comments and processes that you explained, Janae. So just from the mental health standpoint, clinically, just consider all of your resources. While it is a blessing to have the tribe to pour love into you and operate and send you positive energy, also make sure that you spend time at your altar with your ancestors, because they are the first line to just give you those downloads that you need. Then after that, remember that we're all going through a process of shadow work. So there might be some times where Osuntola or Michelle might need to protect their energy. So you always have the crisis line. So they just changed the suicide prevention, and the crisis line is universal now. You can just dial 988. So just like 911, you just dial 988, and it's real quick and easy. And then you press 1, and then you'll be able to speak to a mental health professional for free. Any time of the day, any time of the night. They'll be there. I know a lot of people might say, I don't want anybody to send anybody to my house. You don't have to worry about that, because they're just there to be a listening ear for anybody whenever you need it. So
Shay.
Thank you.
Can you post that in the group too, please? Because I probably won't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, just let me say, like, why just think, like, according to the scriptures, like, why did God create the devil? Like, the God and the devil was best friends. And then something happened and they started beefing. You know what I'm saying? And now we have all of this. As a result, we have all what we have today because of that beef between the two. You know what I mean? They was best friends. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, just we have to look at the shadow because we look at that as devilish. You know what I mean? Like, we have to come back into an agreement, or that, you know what I mean, that best friend, like that friendship that was once there for some reason was destroyed. You know what I'm saying? But we have to heal ourselves and become best friends with that aspect of who it is that we are, and allow that integration to happen once again, so it can produce our true nature, like who it is that we truly are, like fully accepting ourselves, fully accepting ourselves.
And as they said, the shadow work and the darkness is, we have to just make sure we acknowledge that it's not always negative traits.
Right.
It could be any of those that we see as unacceptable. Like, I know that I'm practicing my homework assignment from the tribe here. Vulnerable.
I should.
Oh, okay, but I'm gonna do it because I'm already doing it. I'm already in it. So I know that one of my shadows is acknowledging my personal power and independence. And that's not a negative thing. It's just a thing that I have chosen not to fully acknowledge because I have grown up in a very codependent upbringing. And then when you throw religion into there, it's just a whole different being and beast. And I do suffer from imposter syndrome because no matter what level of achievement that I make, I'm always questioning, okay, is this good enough? So then when I began to release myself and discover my shadows, I realized that it is enough, and that any barrier or obstacle that I embrace is because of something that I've created in my mind. And when you recognize, here, two of my favorite people, I've created this imprisonment by myself, because all of those shadows start in the mind. And as we go back to, I feel like I've been in this program for at least 7, 8 sessions now. Everything begins with the word. And where does the word stem from? What you create in your mind. So it's just important to connect with that and realize that you have the key to release your own self from your self-created imprisonment. And that's where I am on my journey. And
thank
I
you.
just appreciate you all.
Thank you for sharing that, like, and all for being that vulnerable. You know what I'm saying? For one, and just listening to what you said about, like, the limitations, that imposter syndrome and all of those things like that, like, like, whenever you free yourself from that, you know what I mean, how much more powerful, like, will you be, because you are not an imposter. Like, you are the Kim want, like you are that, like, you are this powerful being. You know what I'm saying? Like, that more of your power is, like, you're in the journey of tapping into it. You know what I'm saying? And experiencing it, that independence, that that you have that inside of you, but for some reason that's been kind of, the thoughts in your mind been kind of holding you back from experiencing what independence truly feels like. But how is that going to impact your life when you're able to embrace that independence of yourself? Like, it's going to be an extremely healing and empowering thing for you. So,
and it's really an interesting thing as well, because our own self-talk, right, and what we tell ourselves, right, and then imposter syndrome is something that's always coming up. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking from my own personal experience. Imposter syndrome is something that is constant. Like, it's something I'm constantly battling within self, that I have the right to speak. I have the right to show up. I have, I already know enough. Like, it's always, do I really know enough to speak on this? Matter of fact, I had a conversation with Naru the other day. We were talking about love offerings. And I was going to write this. I had this whole long, drawn out, post, getting ready to post it on the Facebook. And I was like, no, I can't post it. You know what I'm saying? Who am I to say anything when I'm not able to do such and such and such at this time? But the truth of the matter is that this has been in my experience. You know what I'm saying? And so a lot of times my authenticity, my overcoming my imposter syndrome comes from being authentic in my perceptions. You know, this is what my experience is. This is how it's played out in my life. This is how it's impacted me. You know what I'm saying? And allow that experience to help to shed light or to help others to heal. And so, you know, one of my always affirmations is I'm more than enough. I am more than enough. You know what I'm saying? Always and forever. And so even in this space we're in right now, it's one of my go-tos is I am more than enough too. And whatever comes after that. You know what I'm saying? So thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for sharing.
Yes.
It's really an interesting thing because a lot of times other people have the ability to see you more so than we can see ourselves. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes, especially when we're in safe places, we can be vulnerable and we can speak our truths because then others that love us and adore us and see us can fill those spaces and maybe give you those affirmations that you need in order to be able to continue to move forward in that healing journey.
Right.
Does anybody else have anything that they would like to add? Is our hearts and minds are now clear? Okay, great. So next week, not next week, that's a lie. So the next class is in 2 weeks. Don't quote me. I believe it's in 2 weeks. We will be going into the second aspect of shadow work, where we're actually talking about some of these shadows that manifest.
Right.
Again, I'm going to put the prompts into the group as an ebook. I'll put that into the group so you can start really writing out and working through. Of course, again, 988. I'm gonna remember that. 988, if you need somebody to talk to that are professionals, please utilize your resources. You don't have to walk through anything by yourself or alone. Of course, the tribe is here. We do as much as we are able to do in the capacities that we are able. I am not a mental health therapist. I am not a psychologist or a psychiatrist. I do not recommend prescriptions or anything of that nature. So please, if you need the extra help, and I'm not saying to take medicine, I'm not saying to take medicine, but what I am saying is if you need the extra help, then please reach out to, to those people that can help you along this path. We love you. You are beautiful. You are courageous. You are perfect in your imperfections.
Right.
Be gentle with yourself during this process. Show yourself the love and the compassion that you expect from somebody else, and continue your healing work. Continue your healing work. And until the next time, we love you. Peace, y'all.
Peace and love, family.
Peace.
Peace, family.
Peace.
Peace.
Thank you
Peace.
so much.
Peace, brother.